Can you confirm that Airman First Class Jack Teixeira, a member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard, is a person of interest in this leaked documents case? And I have several other questions.
Sure. So first of all, as I mentioned, there is an ongoing criminal investigation, and so anything related to that, I'm going to need to refer you to the DOJ or the FBI.
Can you speak at all to if anyone in the Department of Defense has reached out to this airman? Do you know where he is? There are reports that law enforcement is closing in on this airman's location. So has anyone been able to reach out to him?
Again, Tara, appreciate the question, but again, given that this is an ongoing investigation, I'm not going to be able to talk about the investigation or any potential DOJ actions, so I'd refer you to them.
Okay, in the days after the leaks came to light, what steps has DoD taken to reduce the number of people who have access to not only these classified briefings, but the classified material in general?
Sure. So we continue to review a variety of factors as it relates to safeguarding classified materials. This includes examining and updating distribution lists, assessing how and where intelligence products are shared, and a variety of other steps. I would say, though, that it is important to understand that we do have stringent guidelines in place for safeguarding classified and sensitive information. This was a deliberate criminal act, a violation of those guidelines. And so, again, I think that's important to understand. Now, we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that people who have a need to know when it comes to this kind of information have access to that. We're always going to learn from every situation. But again, this is something that we'll continue to look at.
But you are taking steps to tighten that, I guess, population who might have access to this level of information.
That's accurate. Again, we continue to review those distribution lists, update them, make sure there's a need to know. But again, let me just emphasize my point that this was we have rules in place. Each of us signs a non-disclosure agreement. Anybody that has a security clearance, and so all indications are, again, this is a criminal act, a willful violation of those, and again, another reason why we're continuing to investigate and support DOJ's investigation.
And just last question, do you have a sense that this is just the act of one individual? And even if so, wouldn't members of his chain of command also be held accountable for this lost information?
Again, I don't want to speculate or get ahead of the DOJ's investigation. We need to allow that to run its course, and so I'd refer you to them. Let me go ahead and go to Gordon, and then I'll come back to Jen.
Yeah, Pat, there's two questions. One, just to clarify, in DOD's efforts to change the way you do business in terms of protecting classified information, apart from the stuff that you do already, is that DOD-led or is that joint staff-led? Who's kind of directing what on that? And the second question is just hypothetically, I know you like hypotheticals, if somebody was to be charged, what would determine whether the military would charge and indict and carry out the legal process against that person or people or DOJ?
Yeah. So on your latter question, you're right. I don't want to get into hypotheticals. I will say that, as always, every case is judged on its own merits, and we need to allow this investigation to run its course. And then, of course, there'll be more to say on that. On your first question, again, it's important to understand that this is not just about DOD. This is about the U.S. government. This is about how we protect and safeguard classified information. And as I highlighted, we do have strict protocols in place. So anytime there is an incident, anytime there's an opportunity to review that and refine it, we're, of course, going to take advantage of that. Within the Department of Defense, as you've heard us say, Secretary Austin has been convening daily meetings with his senior leaders, to include the chairman, to talk about reviewing the scope and the impact of this, and also to look at mitigation measures and what we need to do across the Department of Defense to ensure that we're doing our utmost to reinforce existing policies, procedures, and rules. And if there are any areas where we need to tighten things up, we certainly will.
But you've made some changes already.
That's correct, as I mentioned to Tara. When I say DOD, I mean the Department of Defense, across the entire enterprise. Okay, Jen.
General Ryder, you say that there are strict protocols in place, and yet a 21-year-old airman was able to access some of the nation's top secrets. How did this happen, and isn't this a massive security breach?
Again, we need to allow the investigation to run its course. We'll, of course, know more when that is completed, so I'd refer you to DOJ on that.
What is your message to anyone who might be thinking of leaking these kind of documents in the future?
Look, again, we have procedures, we have protocols in place. We receive regular training on the proper handling of classified information. As I mentioned, we sign non-disclosure agreements. So those rules are very clear, and anyone who has a security clearance knows that. Anyone who violates those rules is doing so willfully.
Can you put into context the damage that has been done by this leak?
Again, right now, we're continuing to assess the scope and the impact, and so that's work that will be ongoing. Tony?
How large was the distribution network for these documents, say, prior to last Thursday when the disclosures came out? Are we talking in thousands of people that had access inside the Pentagon and outside the Pentagon, to include Europe and bases around the United States?
Yeah, Tony, so I don't have any numbers to provide you. As I'm sure you can appreciate, the Department of Defense and all of our components, it's a global enterprise doing work in all areas of the world. And so certainly we have people who have access to information that they need to do their jobs, but I don't have any numbers for you.
Can you say it was widespread, though, versus, outside the Pentagon, though, and to other military installations?
Well, again, the Department of Defense, we conduct global operations. So intelligence products, operational information products are shared with DoD leaders and personnel globally throughout the world, whether it's at a component command, whether it's in the services. But again, the important thing to understand about classified information, it's not just I want to have access to it because I have a clearance. It's all based on need to know. Do you have a need to know that information? And that typically will grant you access if you have the appropriate clearances.
Thanks.
Thank you. Travis?
Thanks, Pat. I'm still confused on the access issue. You said that there were changes that were made, but you also said that you're reviewing things. Can you tell us, are there less people who have access to this type of information today than there were a week ago?
So Travis, again, I'm not gonna get down to numbers. Again, reviewing distribution lists, looking at who has a need to know, making sure those things are updated, doing due diligence in the wake of these unauthorized disclosures. Again, though, I want to emphasize that this was a deliberate criminal act to violate those guidelines and rules, in the same way that if you locked your front door and somebody came into your house and took something, you followed your procedures and you locked your door, but somebody went in your house and took something and put it out on the street. That's what we're talking about here. Let me go to Carla.
Just a couple questions on this, and then I have a follow on something separate. Why did it take so long to brief the Secretary about the leaks? He said that he was briefed on April the 6th. And would you classify that delay as a failure of the open source intelligence teams?
Absolutely not. We were notified, the department became aware on the 5th. The Secretary was briefed hours later in the morning of the 6th. I don't consider that a delay. Thanks.
Yeah. To follow on that, these documents were available long before April 5th and 6th. So what took so long for DOD and the intelligence communities to locate these documents?
Yeah, so that's really something that the investigation will tell us. That said, I think it's important to remember that DOD's intelligence activities are primarily focused internationally. So to the extent that the department collects any information related to U.S. persons, for example, or gaming chat rooms, it would have to be conducted in accordance with law and policy and in a manner that protects privacy and civil liberties. So again, we'll know more at the culmination of this investigation. Thank you. Let me go.
To follow up
No,
on
let me,
just
all
the
right.
Syria, really quickly on the Syria attacks from March, do we have a final conclusion on the TBI assessments? How many U.S. troops received TBIs as a result of these attacks? And do you believe that the U.S. strikes that happened on 3/23, the retaliatory strikes, do you believe that they've deterred Iranian-backed groups from targeting U.S. forces?
Yeah, so on the TBI, my understanding is CENTCOM has collected some additional information, so we'll get that to you and the press team here. In terms of deterrence, again, we're going to continue to do everything that we need to do at a time and place of our choosing to ensure that we're deterring and safeguarding our folks. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.